This is Sawyer Robertson, and you're listening to the Bearcast on SicEm365.com.
Welcome into the Bearcast on SicEm365.com. Today, I'm here with Jack Mackenzie, and we're going to go through some of the biggest questions I had going into Baylor's offseason. And we're going to talk about them, kind of dive in, see if Baylor actually answered these questions. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
If you'll let me, this is actually kind of going to be a recurring little back and forth between you and me this season, where you'll give your keys to the games each. I think it's Thursday or Friday as questions, and then on Monday I'll kind of answer them whether or not Baylor answered them. And that's the only reason I'm doing that part, is because you're going to have an even more interesting piece on Monday. So I'm going to take that off your plate.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that. But it's always fun to kind of talk about these questions. So we have 3 of them for y'all today. And we're going to figure out, did Baylor answer them? Where are we at with these questions that Baylor had? So the very first one that we're going to start at was probably my biggest question, honestly, going into the offseason. And it's, will Baylor find an answer at safety? So, Jack, I'll let you kind of run with this. Kind of where were you at this offseason with that spot?
This one, early on, it felt pretty good. You get out of the transfer portal, you get Devin Turner, Northwestern safety, a guy that just absolutely seemed like plug and play. He's going to be that guy next to Devin Bobby. He's going to be a big difference maker. And frankly, he could help Devin Bobby elevate his play. Like, he was probably going to be the alpha back there. And then at the very end of spring football, he tears his ACL. And your answer is gone. And so you've got to look at the rest of the room. And the rest of the room, it doesn't inspire me with a lot of confidence. Yes, Oregon transfer Tyler Turner is a good prospect. Not really much proven there. And then after him, you're looking at guys that Baylor has brought in, but not all of them they brought in to play safety. They brought in Micah Gifford to play wide receiver at first, and this is his first season at safety. Your other guys, probably the first up after Tyler Turner is Chris Wokoma. I'm not quite sure how to say his last name. And then after that, you're looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, but is he not a former walk-on, Jacob Redding?
He is, but he played quite a bit last year.
He played quite a bit last year, and he showed, if I remember correctly, some flashes. He's also touted by, I'm forgetting the interviews, but someone in your interviews, Grayson, this offseason named him as one of the fastest guys on the team. It might have been Keaton Thomas. So he's got some speed. He's got some physical ability to him, but you just don't know what you're getting with a walk-on. Not everyone can be a Josh Cameron guy who really develops into someone with even some pro potential. So you're looking at a highly unproven room that it's a big drop off from a guy who is plug and play and probably your best safety on the roster in what would have been Devin Turner this year.
Yeah, exactly. He was anticipated to be their best safety. And to be fair, that was before Devin Bobby had his best offseason. So maybe things would have changed. Maybe the answer would have been different. But Devin Turner was one of the first transfers who came in and basically day number 1 was starting. Yeah, sure, he had to earn it, but it was pretty apparent that he was earning it every single day. He was very, very good. And so losing him is massive. Luckily, they brought in Tyler Turner. Now, the issue with Turner is he was basically brought in to be the replacement for Corey Gordon, who left to Louisville in the offseason, which Corey Gordon, if you remember correctly, was the kind of key backup last year, right? He wasn't starter, but he was the guy that if anyone was hurt, he was kind of subbing in. He was first guy off the bench. That's what Tyler Turner was supposed to be. Now he's starting at field safety, which he hasn't played a lot of snaps. The talent is there. I really liked him as a prospect. He was committed to Baylor during his process as well. And so I just think that all of that is such an interesting kind of situation that Baylor's going to be going through at that specific spot. I also have to fit in that Starr is a part of this. Starr is absolutely a part of the safety spot here. And Baylor didn't really address the Starr position this offseason because they were banking on Carl Williams to be their guy. And Carl Williams could absolutely be their guy. But it's not very encouraging that, a week and a half, 2 weeks out from their first game, Dave Aranda is saying that Carl Williams is 70% right now. And that is just not a good place to be. And then you look at the depth behind him and you got Kendrick Simpkins, who I just personally don't know if he's a full-time player at the position. I think he can be impactful as maybe a run stopper, as a guy that creates havoc, but he just lacks the ability in coverage. And then you have DJ Coleman, who started the LSU game at star, pretty good in coverage, but less of a havoc creator in the backfield. So you kind of have a mixture there. I think it would be by committee if Carl doesn't play, but for this team to actually be good at safety, they really do need Carl to be a part of it in some way. Like, you need him to be playing well because he's a single-digit guy. He's a guy they're expecting a lot from.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And it's never good when you're looking at, well, this one's our coverage guy and this guy's our havoc guy, and that's just an easy tip of the hand to the offense. So hopefully they will sort something out and they will figure out the best personnel sets. And maybe that means not seeing as much of having a true star on the field. But I digress.
So my final verdict here is that Baylor did not find an answer. I don't think fully at safety.
I am very much with you there.
Yeah, that's my biggest question mark for the Bears, actually, for this entire year. I think a lot is going to hinge on that. You're playing really good quarterbacks, so you're going to need that group to take a step forward. Real quick, Sawyer Robertson has something to remind you about.
Want the latest information about your favorite team? Try out SIGM 365 premium content the next 3 months for just $5 by clicking the link below.
And now back to the Bearcast. So next question that I had going into the offseason, and it's kind of an intriguing one because I think people will maybe think that this is not much of a question, but I feel like it's actually a pretty big one. So
I think it is a good question.
Yeah, will Baylor build enough offensive line depth? Now, setting the stage here, I know Baylor returns 4 guys. They're only replacing 1, and that's Campbell Barrington getting replaced by Caden Siraki. I understand all that. But last year, Baylor didn't deal with any injuries up front. Like, they were so healthy along the offensive line, which is actually pretty rare in today's college football. So this year, you kind of expect maybe some of these young guys will have to play, some of these unproven options, and they are unproven. Make no mistake about it. This is a very unproven group from a depth perspective. So, Jack, what are your thoughts on that based on what we've seen this offseason?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question to ask, honestly, because as much as you love the top of the room, or I love the top of the room, I really do trust in the O-line, the 4 returners especially. I do like Caden Siraki at right tackle. I think he's going to step in and play well. I'm probably less concerned about that than you or others, at least. But after him, it does. I don't know, and I think that's very fair. I think that it was kind of hinted at by the different offensive linemen in the media availabilities across the spring and media days and here during fall camp. There was a lot of emphasis from all of those older guys, the starters in the room, about bringing along the younger guys. They called themselves the Union, and they're really focusing on having a cohesive room. I think that's really important this offseason because they know if any one of them goes down, the next guy has to slot in, and none of them have played significant snaps. I mean, you're looking at center to back up Colton Price, who's, I think he's going to have a great year if he can stay healthy. That's a big concern. But you're looking at Siraki's younger brother, Colton, and has he played any snaps yet? Like, he looks like a good prospect, but you don't know. And then out at between guard and tackle, you're looking at guys like Sean Tompkins or Joe Crocker, like guys that you really do think, hey, they've got some promise. Crocker's got some snaps at Louisville. Sean Tompkins was a very well-regarded recruit here at Baylor, and he looks like he's been developing well. But again, it's just all looks like, we think, we don't know. So if I had to give an answer to the question, I'd say that they've done a good job focusing on that issue. Like, they recognized it. And so I like to think that, like, if overall it was a test grade, they're hopefully getting a B- at worst, but it's really tough to tell.
It is. I think my question with the top of the group is, how will they respond to playing really good defensive lines? Because let's just face it, they were really good against the bad defensive lines and then a mixed bag against the good defensive lines. Now, it did coincide with the offense taking that step forward. So we're going to find out the truth probably immediately against Auburn. But as far as the depth goes, heard great things about Sean Tompkins all offseason. That was a big one for me because you really need your tackle to be solidified. And so if something does happen to one of the tackles, or if Caden Siraki's not performing, at least they have someone that they have talked a lot about this offseason. I really like Colton Siraki at center. I think he's probably the answer that I feel the best with. Like if Colton Price missed time, I do feel really good that Colton Siraki would be the answer. I also think he could be the answer at guard too, because when you look at guard, kind of looking at a group of, Colton Thomason, once a highly ranked prospect, went to A&M, transferred to Baylor. You're looking at Harrison Clough, a true freshman. Those have been the two that have kind of emerged.
Yeah, Clough got some praise from Sawyer Robertson in your interview with him.
Yeah, he's a very good player, very good prospect, but a true freshman. And so a lot of questions there. My verdict on the offensive line is that I still don't think they have the depth that would be ideal for Mason Miller and the staff. I think they have some answers, but I don't think they have all the answers if the worst were to happen for that group.
If I could press you on this, can you offer a letter grade on like if this was a test, this one question was a test, what letter grade are they getting? I gave them that B-.
Yeah, I think I'd probably give them a B. I think it's a B. I wish they would have brought in, this is just kind of crazy to say, you return 4 starters, but I kind of wish they would have brought in someone that pushed more for a starting spot, and no one really did that.
I definitely think that I believe we both for the season predicted a 10-2 record, Big 12 championship game appearance, playoff appearance. So if we're talking about that level, that's the kind of roster construction you need. You need to have at least one proven answer back there. And a guy, when I say a proven answer, I mean talking about 2 out of those 3 offensive line positions, guard or tackle or guard and center, something like that. So I think that's why we both land in that B area.
It absolutely is. So still a concern for me, but something that I do think is getting there for Mason Miller in just his second year in Waco. Okay, so my last question, and this was one that I was pretty emphatic about. I think by what the staff did this offseason, they were pretty emphatic about this as well. So the question was, will Baylor find an answer at outside receiver? And so, again, I'm going to set the stage for you here, Jack, because immediately after the season ended, Baylor had to figure out a lot of things at receiver because you're losing quite a few guys, Keatron Jackson, Monterey Baldwin, Hal Presley. You got to figure out, what's next at the spot. You didn't know for sure if Ashton was going to get his year back either. But in general, Baylor kind of went into the offseason thinking Ashton was going to get the year back, and they still focused heavily at outside receiver. They got Kobe Prentice. They got Cole Wilson to address the slot, but they still looked around for quite a few very high-profile names, and they swung and missed on all 3 of them. So that pushed you forward into spring. And still nothing in the spring. Then after spring ends, you find out, Ashton Hawkins isn't eligible. Something's up in the air there. And they're still looking at outside receiver. And in walks in Lewis Brown, who is kind of their big addition at outside receiver this offseason. So the question is, will Baylor find an answer there at outside receiver?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Definitely key to the offseason. I mean, you looked at the defense and you're like, where's the hole? Safety. You look at the offense at the end of last season, and you're like, where's the hole? At least knowing who you're most likely going to lose. And you're like, well, it's got to be outside receiver, right? I mean, otherwise you're looking at what? Maybe
right tackle.
Yeah. And as we've already discussed, like decent options there. Like you've got a guy who can hopefully step in and play that position well. So, and that I hesitate to say this because I do think that Jaden Porter is a part of my answer and a part of why I like Baylor at outside receiver this year. I am very high on Jaden Porter, a guy who was in the room last year, but I think that it was still one of those, like, if they're bringing in someone to make a big difference for this offense, it's going to be at outside receiver. And then you just go through the offseason, you get each step closer to the year and you're just to the season, and you're just like, man, they haven't brought that guy in yet. And like you said, you reported heavily on this all through the offseason on Sick'em 365 Premium that they were just missing out on their targets. And, it's tough. It's the landscape of college football. You can't win them all. Like they were in those conversations. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like they were in it for those guys. Just at the end of the day, sometimes they don't pick you. So it's great to hear here at the end, like at the end of the summer at media days, you're hearing about this guy, Lewis Brown, that they brought in from San Diego State. And like, oh, he's a dude, he can play. And then you get through the end of fall camp and he's got a single digit. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, he's getting high praise. It was also cool because like getting to attend practice as much as I did, the open portion that the media gets to attend, I actually got to see some interaction between Lewis Brown and Sawyer, and Sawyer's like it red zone situation. He's coaching him about like where exactly to sit down in for a zone beating route, and I'm just like, the communication here is good. The frame, the size, the athletic ability, everything looks good, and so all of that is matching with what we're hearing out of Baylor's camp when the doors are closed, which is this dude he's going to make a difference this year. So I feel like they definitely answer that question. I also, again, think Jaden Porter is going to help be part of that answer because you can't always rely on just the one guy. Injury concerns, just overall snap counts, all of it. And it'll be great if Jaden Porter can emerge as a secondary threat on the outside because, hey, who doesn't want more weapons? But I really am very happy with the way Baylor answered this question this offseason.
I was as well. Obviously, Josh Cameron, I'm not forgetting about Josh Cameron. It's just Josh needs someone who can take him off the field and give him less
neither
reps.
am I. But I also see him playing everywhere across the field. Like he is not someone that I'm thinking of as that's only outside receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely the answer there. But I would also say that they need to find the secondary answer. And that was kind of the big thing from last year. You know, Sawyer Robertson's best graded PFF throw is deep down the right sideline. That is his best throw. The rail shots, 20 plus yards down the sideline. You know what Lewis Brown's best route is on PFF? It's the exact same spot down the right sideline. Like that's where he thrives. And I looked around at Baylor's wide receiver room and I'm like, man, if I was on this team, I'd be the tallest wide receiver in this room. That's never a great thing. And I'm not saying height is all that matters, but you know, Josh Cameron, 6'1", all the other guys projected to start are 6 foot or shorter. And then you have Ashton Jones, who's a true freshman. So there's your height, but it's like, man, you got to find some answers. They went out, got Michael Johnson Jr., who's 6'3", 6'4", and then Lewis Brown, who's 6'2", 6'3", gives them a little more height, a little more size. When you go up against some of these other schools that you're going to face that have big athletic corners, it's a big deal to have some size on the outside to give you another option. I like Lewis Brown a lot. I think what he does in contested catch situations is very important. I think what he does down the field is very important. And he's going to play a big factor. I do agree with you. I like Jaden Porter as well. He's a versatile piece. He contributes to that outside receiver room. And then also the fact that Ashton Hawkins played some outside receiver last year and Cole Wilson played a lot of outside receiver at Incarnate Word specifically gives me a lot more optimism about this spot. And so my final verdict here is I think Baylor absolutely found their answer at outside receiver.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, I want to emphasize in my staff season predictions, Josh Cameron is my offensive MVP. Just because I didn't talk about him too much at the start of that question, I want to make sure that's clear. But yeah, the amount of weapons Baylor has to work with, put him wherever you want across the field. Put Ashton at outside. Put Josh at inside. Put Trigg wherever the heck you want. You've got a lot of fun toys to move around and win that chess game with. Like it's going to be a fun season watching this offense, I'm pretty sure.
It absolutely will. And I think their answer there raised the ceiling of this offensive unit and for Sawyer Robertson in particular to take advantage of some more matchups and just be a little more diverse with how they can attack defenses. But Jack and I will be back at some point to talk more of these questions. Hopefully, of course, I'll be back with more Bearcast episodes as well. But be sure to check out Sikkim 365 Premium. Next week, everything gets started. We're going to have all kinds of content, all kinds of news. So be sure to check out our various articles on Sikkim 365 Premium. But thanks for listening today. This has been the Bearcast.
Join Sikkim 365 Premium on a $1 for 1 month trial to read our experts' notes and insights. Know about high school commits, off-season transfers, coaching staff changes, and so much more before the rest. Also, download the Sikkim 365 app on your iPhone today to get instant notifications of breaking news, read up on the latest inside info, easily interact with other Baylor fans on our forums, and get alerts for anything published by your favorite staff members.